in the Manila Bay and other bays that experience red tides, it is the marginalized that is affected in health and in economy.
Engineering is the ability to absorb, thrive, and then recover. The faster you're able to recover, the more resilient.
Sa Pilipino, ito ay katibayan at katatagan sa mahirap na sitwasyon at ang kakayahang bumangon muli.
Yung ecological naman, the ability to adapt. Yung evolutionary resilience, Vale, to really innovate and be creative.
Resilience is really being able to spring back from adversity, but it should have learning, and therefore it strengthens you to be more resilient than before the adversity came to you.
Before COVID-19, the Philippines was already on to SMT-based measures to improve its resilience capacity. With COVID, the country was awakened to the need for resilience of our economic, health, and educational status as well.
The country as a whole is, I think, not so resilient because while we have the capabilities, the opportunities, and the resources to cope with COVID-19, the whole body is suffering because the leadership and management is not working so well. When it comes to individual resilience, those who have more resources, capabilities, and opportunities will be more resilient than those who are not.
A lot of the problems really may be interconnected, Vale. You have to look at it from a holistic point of view. It encompasses more than natural sciences or physical problem, Vale, but also it gets into the ecological, biological, as well as social pa nga.
Among issues and problems we have are poverty, ecosystem destruction, climate change, and variability.
Much of our attention is placed only after the disasters happen. What we should do really is to take early action years before the hazard strikes, and we should put our attention and our resources into that type of planning.
We need SMT-based transdisciplinary and inclusive approach to coping with possible hazards.
The fragmentation of society needs to be resolved for resilience.
Communication is very, very important, and we should communicate to the people using not just scientific communication means, but through arts, music, understand the mindset of the Filipino people so we can communicate better.
Well, the way to move forward is interoperability.
So we have to do a lot of work as a person, as a community, and as an institution to really have resilience as one of the values of the Filipinos. Yung tunay na resilience na towards improvement.
Building resilience requires sustainability science inspired by transdisciplinary approach.
To be sustainable, you have to be resilient. To be resilient, you have to be sustainable.
Go natural, go with nature's flow. Non-structural or natural interventions, as well as good planning, is the most sustainable.
Finally, we need to harness and strengthen the Filipino spirit of bayanihan.
Sa magandang hapon po sa ating lahat at malugod na pagbati po mula sa Future Earth Philippines. Muli niyo kami samahan sa hapon na ito upang talakayin ang isa naman napakagandang topic sa loob ng isa't kalahating oras. Tayo po ay magpapalitan ng mga kaalaman na tiyak namang kapupulutan ng mga bagong aral. So sa episode pong ito po ay kaya 163rd episode po ng ating webinar. Pag-uusapan po natin ang topic na pinamagatang Integrating Climate Action, Biodiversity Conservation, and Sustainable Development through SDG Synergies, Evidence from Philippine Case Studies. So our speaker for today is a retired professor of plant ecology from the prestigious University of the Philippines, Los Baños, whose passion for protecting our planet burns brighter than ever. Beyond academia, she stays at the front lines of environmental defense, channeling her expertise into high-impact research, global consultancies, and heartfelt volunteer work. So her pioneering work focuses on building climate-resilient communities and driving sustainable solutions to combat the escalating threats of global warming and pollution. So from the lush depths of the upland forest to the fragile beauty of the freshwater lakes, she unlocks the secret of biodiversity to safeguard our most vital ecosystem. She tirelessly dedicates and scientific leadership continue to inspire a greener, more sustainable future for our generations to come. So, wag na po natin patagalin ang ating pong usapan. Let's all welcome ang aking pong sis sa UP Los Baños, Dr. Damasa Macalye Macandog. Ma'am
Okay.
Demi, magandang hapon.
Yes. Magandang hapon. Thank you, Mark, for that very nice introduction. Ang galing ng ginawa mo introduction, ah.
Sige po.
And maraming salamat po for inviting me to share yung aming mga studies dito sa ating SDG talakayan, ano. And maraming salamat kay Ma'am G. Cuevas. Siya actually yung nag-invite sa akin, I think last month, no, na magkasama kami sa land grant. Sabi niya, Demi, mag-present ka naman sa ano, dito sa SDG. Okay. So, and sa lahat po ng NAST, mga academicians, saka yung ating president, si Ma'am Luli, magandang hapon po. Sa atin pong mga nanonood at nakikinig sa ating programa ngayong hapon, ito po si Demi Macandog. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Start na ako mag-share.
Sige po, ma'am.
Okay. Ayan.
Paki-heart react po o kaya thumbs up kung nakikita po natin ang ating presentation po ni Ma'am Demi. Ayan po.
Ayan. Okay. Maraming
So
salamat
let's keep the ball
po.
rolling na po.
Oo. Okay. Right. So, ngayong hapon, ang isi-share ko sa inyo ay yung mga case studies na na-involved ako din as projects, no? And ito, pwede nating tignan from the lens of sustainable development goals. So, tatlo yung ano, yung topics na gusto kong tuhugin dito: climate change, climate action, biodiversity, biodiversity loss, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable development through SDG synergies. Yung last slide ko, ikukwento ko, i-share ko rin sa inyo yung isang project na na-involve ako to produce a book on SDG synergies sa Asia Pacific region. Okay. Alright, teka ha. Okay. Ayun. Okay. So, kita nyo na po itong ano. Okay. So, ito po yung aking first slide. Let me start my presentation with this quotation from Gareth Hardin. So, sabi niya, "Therein this tragedy. Each man is locked into a system that compels him to increase his herd without limit in a world that is limited." So yan po yung nangyayari sa atin ngayon. This is from the book, The Tragedy of the Commons. Kung titingnan natin ang Pilipinas, ganyan yung problema. So nag-increase na yung ating population, more than 110 million Filipinos na tayo. And then ang ating bansa ay maliit lamang, 13 million hectares. And alam natin, bawat isa sa atin, bawat isa doon sa 110 million ay kailangan suportahan ng ating resources. Una, ng pagkain. So yung ating agricultural production, yung ating forest, medicine, no, mula sa ating biodiversity, and then water from our water resources, fresh water, underground water, rivers, stream, lakes, ano pa? And then of course, accommodation, bahay, no? Kailangan kumuha sila ng wood from our forest para doon makagawa ng bahay. So, sa dami ng populasyon na yan, kailangan ang dami ng mai-provide ng ating natural resources. But our natural resources, alam natin, is limited. Kaya yun ang ating problema. Kaya ito yung main issue, sustainability. Paano natin masusustain na mabigyan ng provision yung lahat ng ang dami-daming Pilipino, ang dami-daming tao, no, dito sa ating bansa. So that's the tragedy of the commons. Okay. Ito yung aking main topic this afternoon, triple planetary crisis. Ano itong tatlong ito? Nabanggit ko na kanina, climate change, pollution, at biodiversity loss. Itong tatlong ito ay interconnected global environmental emergencies, okay? That together, they threaten human well-being and sustainable development. Okay, so ang climate change, it drives ecosystem stress. So ngayon, nakikita natin, napapanood natin sa Europe, no? Last month lang problema nila, sobrang init, no? Kasi El Nino tayo ngayon. Dami sa kanila may heat stroke. That was June, ang aga. And then ngayon, July, mababasa mo na mapapanood mo sa YouTube, ang daming mga forest fires doon sa southwestern Europe, sa Spain, sa Italy, sa France, na hindi naman normally nangyayari. So yun, na-stress yung kanilang ecosystem, no? Yung kanilang mga forests. Okay. Now, biodiversity loss, actually, these forest fires, no, doon sa example natin sa Europe, okay, so it causes biodiversity loss kasi ang dami nasusunog na mga kahoy and even yung mga nakatira doon sa forest, of course, yung mga wildlife doon, okay. And this biodiversity loss will naturally weaken yung natural systems. Ito yung systems na nagre-regulate ng climate. Paano yun? Halimbawa, yung mga forest, yung mga puno, alam natin na sila yung nagpo-photosynthesize, no? Kinukuha nila yung carbon dioxide doon sa atmosphere, sinisequester niya para makaproduce ng biomass, foliage, yung kanyang wood, yung rooting system. And then alam din natin, yung rooting system ng mga trees sa upland area, sa bundok, okay? So tumutulong sila sa pag-infiltrate ng ulan, no? Ng tubig ulan para makarating doon sa groundwater. And then, alam din natin itong mga puno, sorry po, may konting lecture ng plant physiology, sila yung nagta-transpire. So, sila naman ang nagbabalik din through transpiration ng tubig sa atmosphere. So, that's water cycle and that's part of our climate. So, yun yung isang example nun. Okay, alam naman natin yung pollution. Okay, marumi yung ating hangin. Okay, yung tubig, yung ating nagda-damage yan sa ating kapaligiran at saka yung lahat ng living organisms. Okay. Now, itong tatlong crisis na to, they share common causes. Unang-una, yung paggamit natin ng fossil fuel, no? With industrialization, okay, so kailangan natin ng gumamit ng petrol. And we know we are all suffering now doon sa dahil sa problema doon sa Iran at saka yung US war nila, ang taas tuloy ngayon ng ating fossil fuel, yung prices ng ating petrol, lalo na ang diesel at saka So, mga industries natin gumagamit din ng mga energy, fossil fuel. So, yan, yung because sa fossil fuel use na yan, okay, so yung mga sasakyan natin, gumagamit tayo ng fossil fuel, yung mga usok natin, yung industries, lahat yun, nagbibigay ng carbon dioxide papunta sa atmosphere. Sobrang dami ng carbon dioxide in the last 100 years na naiipon dyan sa ating atmosphere. So, nagkakos yan ng greenhouse effect. So natatrap niya yung mga outgoing na long wave radiation, yung far red, no, yung energy na nanggagaling sa earth, no, kapag yung gabi nagre-release din ng energy ng long wavelength ang earth. Okay, ganun din sa araw, and yan naiipon yan diyan, natatrap ng carbon dioxide, parang bubong yon, no, parang greenhouse na bubong, and it warms the our climate, no, itong malapit sa Earth na ating climate, and that is the one na nag-uumpisa noong ating climate change, no? Pag global warming, ayan na sunod-sunod na yung ibang events, increase in temperature, drought, El Nino, La Nina, and so on. So climate change na, nagbabago na talaga yung panahon, no? Sabi nga natin, hindi mo na malaman kung kailan yung uulan or yung sobrang init ng panahon. So that's okay, land use change. So related sa first slide ko, no, kailangan sa dami ng populasyon, ang dami ng mga kailangan, iba't iba yung demands for agriculture. So kailangan ng food, demand for residential areas. So nagkakaroon ng pagbabago sa ating land use. So kung mapapansin nyo, yung iba nating mga forested areas na may mga puno, napuputol yung mga puno, kino-convert into agricultural areas or residential areas. Or yung mamaya yung case 1 ko, no, dito sa Santa Rosa Watershed, yung dating mga taniman ng tubo, ng sugarcane, na convert na into industrial park, no? Okay, so kailangan kasi, no, industrial development. So yun yung land use change. And then unsustainable production and consumption. Okay, so isang example ko rito sa unsustainable production. So sa dami ng populasyon, sa dami ng tao, kailangan maraming pagkain. Now, ibibigay ko lang na isang example would be corn, no, yung yellow corn sa ating upland areas. Maraming gamit yung mga corn, unang-una feeds for sa ating mga livestock, sa ating pigs, sa cow, and so on. And also pagkain din natin yung corn. Now, usually dito sa mga upland areas, nililinis nila yung mga forested areas para magtanim ng corn. And then usually, kung yan ay high-yielding variety or GMO, kailangan mataas din ang inputs mo, no? Para mataas ang yield. So ano yung mataas na inputs? You have to put in more fertilizer, kalimitan inorganic fertilizer. Ano pa? Kailangan mapuksa mo yung mga insects at saka yung mga pests, no? So you will have to apply insecticide, pesticide, and so on. So itong mga ina-apply natin, fertilizer, inorganic fertilizer, kapag tuloy-tuloy mo yan, year in, year out, yan ang nilalagay mo dun sa yung farm, ultimately, like say, ammonium sulfate, no? Sulfate. Nagre-react yan. Maghihiwalay ang ammonium at sulfate. Sulfate will react with water to form sulfuric acid. So ano yun? Acid. So ibig sabihin, through time, magiging maasim, acidic yung lupa mo. Nasisira yung soil. Hindi lang yung fertility niya, but even yung kanyang texture, no, yung organic matter, masisira yan. Hanggang sa hindi na maging productive, no, yung lupa. So, kailangan talaga i-rehabilitate mo yung soil. So, yun. Tapos, yung mga insecticide, pesticides, so, pampatay yan, no? So, usually, hindi lang naman yung target insect ang namamatay. Pwede rin mamatay yung ibang mga insekto, or kung we decide yan, yung ibang beneficial na mga halaman, mga herbs mamatay. So, naapektuhan yung biodiversity, no, ng ating lupa. Okay. Consumption. So, that's another one. Kung unsustainable yung consumption natin. A very good example ng kapag marami sa atin ay meat eating, laging kumakain ng karning baka, baboy, and so on. So we know, just to produce 1 kilo ng meat na yan, kailangan madami kang ipakain na feeds, no? And so on. So whereas kung kumain ka na lang ng 1 kilo na, let's say, gulay or mas lesser yung so I think lifestyle change yun. Ano po? Okay. Tapos, okay, so solutions, so diretso ko lang sa aking slide. Solutions in one area can affect the others positively or negatively. Sabihin, solution mo doon sa climate change or sa pollution or sa biodiversity loss, can affect yung isa dun sa tatlo. Bakit? Kasi these crises are interconnected and they are mutually reinforcing. Okay? Which I will show in greater detail sa mga examples ko mamaya as I proceed with my presentation. Okay. Okay, so ito lang again, na-explain ko na yung iba doon kanina sa previous slide, but related to that, okay, so yun nga, interconnected ito. Ang climate change is driven by greenhouse gas emissions. So ano yung mga greenhouse gases? Pinakamaano, yung carbon dioxide na mention ko na kanina. Ano pa yung ibang greenhouse gases na pwedeng methane? So yung methane, paano yun mga example ng mga nagre-release ng methane. Alam niyo po ba ang rice fields? Yung ating halaman na palay, nag-e-emit din po yan ng methane. Ano pa? Yung ating mga alagang baka, no, kapag nguya sila ng nguya noong damo, so meron din pong nare-release na methane kasi may enteric fermentation sa sikmura nila eh. So yan yung mga tapos marami pa pong ibang yung mga fluorides pero pinaka-common, pinakamadami yung carbon dioxide kasi nga galing yan sa mga industries, sa fossil fuels, or kapag nasusunog ang wildfires, no? Tulad na nangyayari ngayon sa Europe, okay? Yung mga wildfires na yan, ang daming carbon dioxide na yan, okay? So, and sabi nga rin, fossil fuel, and then land use change, so lahat to, no? Nagre-release ng greenhouse gas, okay? Ano ang resulta? Umiinit, sabi ko nga na ko nga yung greenhouse gas effect. So, global warming, no? No, pag-init ng temperature, ang kaano na niyan would be nagbabago yung rainfall patterns, okay? Tapos, isang example yan dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, di ba, ngayon, nakaka-experience na tayo ng super typhoon. I remember nung bata pa po ako, ang pinakamalakas na bagyo ay signal number 3 lang. Ngayon hanggang number 5. So, ibig sabihin, lumalakas yung force, no? Yung pressure doon sa typhoon. Plus, ang daming dalang ulan, no? Sobra na. So, extreme events. So, tapos, yun nga, more extreme weather events. Tapos, ngayon yung mga cold nights natin, cold days, nangangaunti kasi dumadami yung mas maiinit na araw and so on. So, yun nga, yung nangyayari ngayon doon sa Northern Hemisphere na merong supposedly summer sa kanila ngayon, super hot, no, yung summer nila. So, kakaroon sila ng mga yung mga heat waves and so on. And then ngayon, extreme na to, nasusunog na yung kanilang mga bundok. Okay. Next crisis is biodiversity loss. Bakit po nawawala ang ating biodiversity? Una-una, yun nga, yung rising temperature. Kung i-relate ko dito sa diagram, nasusunog yung forest. Okay. So, pag nasunog yung forest, masira yung habitat, no? Kung hindi man sunog, no? Paano natin nasisira yung ating environment, yung land use change, okay? So, binabago mo, inaalis, pinuputol mo yung mga puno. So, yun, nasisira yung habitat, no, ng ating mga wildlife. Okay. Ecosystem fragmentation. Ano ibig sabihin fragment? Yun? Putol-putol or pira-piraso. So, ibig sabihin, kung ba, meron ka isang malaking forested area. Tapos, sa bandang gitna, pinutol mo yung mga puno dyan, naglagay ka ng urban development, di nahati na yung dating buong So, that is ecosystem fragmentation. And that is what is happening, kung iba-ibang LGUs, nagpuputol doon sa mga bundok-bundok nila and kino-convert yun sa land use change. So, nagkakaroon ng ecosystem fragmentation. Ano naman ang mangyayari kung ganun na magkaroon ng fragmentation? Ang unang-unang apektado dyan ay yung mga wildlife. So, sabihin, kung halimbawa po, dapat sana nakakagala sila from one end dun sa kabila, hanggang dun sa kabilang end noong previous forest. Ngayon, sa gitna ay merong urban settlement. So, hindi sila makakatawid doon sa So, that is what we call ecosystem fragmentation and affected yung mobility, yung movement, at saka yung nilang activities sa kanilang life cycle. Okay. Species decline. So, dahil nawawala yung ibang species, nagiging extinct, No, yun. So, yun yung species decline, bumababa yung number of species. Okay. Dahil sa ito na nangaunti yung ating biodiversity, kung ating bundok, dating maraming iba-ibang klaseng puno, ngayon, kokounti na, okay, it reduces nature's capacity, no, to do several ecological functions like storing carbon. So, paano? Alam natin yung puno, napakalaking biomass niyan, ang tigas ng wood niyan, ang daming carbon yan. So kung putulin mo yan, sunugin mo yung ano niyan, yung forest na yan, yung puno na yan, so marirelease yung carbon dioxide as usok, no, doon sa ano. Okay. Deregulate water, nabanggit ko na yun kanina, yung mga puno, yung mga ugat nila, they help in the infiltration, percolation and then infiltration down to the water table, no, doon sa aquifer, sa ilalim ng lupa. Okay. And maintain ecosystem resilience. So kanina, ano yung slide, previous slide, okay, yung ecosystem resilience. So resilience is being able to bounce back. So kung magkaroon ng, let's say, ng forest fire, kung ilang taon, no, bago maka-bounce back yun, bago ulit tumubo yung mga puno at bumalik ulit yung forest mo. So that is ecosystem resilience. Okay. Third crisis is pollution. So, yan, problema natin dito sa atin sa Metro Manila. Of course, alam natin, yung hangin, very polluted. Taga Los Baños kasi ako. Pag ako paluwas ng Manila, sa SLEX pa lang, makikita ko na kulay gray yung hangin diyan sa Manila. No, that is because of pollution. Dami kasing sasakyan, tsaka mga ano. Okay. So, pati tubig natin, pwedeng ma-pollute. Okay, so meron ako isang study dito sa Seven Lakes, sa San Pablo City. So, we are looking, at saka even Laguna Lake pala, may mga studies na kami dyan, ecological studies, and we are looking into, actually, minomonitor namin yung water quality. So, maraming pollutants po dyan sa ano. Okay. And even soil contamination, example ko ng soil contamination, yung nabanggit ko kanina, kung agricultural area, naglagay ka ng fertilizer, ng pesticide, insecticide, ayan, nakocontaminate yung lupa niyan. Okay. Or kung sa agricultural areas, kung halimbawa meron kang piggery, poultry, or even yung mga alagang pangsabong na manok, okay, so they can cause contamination ng soil. Kasi yung binibigay mo ng mga antibiotics, ng mga gamot, doon mga sa pangsabong na manok. Okay, so pagka sila ay nagwiwi or nagpupo, punta doon sa soil, yung mga binigay mo na antibiotics, na mga hormones, etc. Okay. Tingnan naman natin po itong diagram ko. Gusto ko lang i-discuss ito kasi gusto ko lang ipakita sa inyo na yung tatlong crisis na yon ay di ba interconnected nga yun. So, merong systemic loop, kabit-kabit po, magkakonekta yung tatlong yan. Okay. Climate change worsens biodiversity loss and pollution. Biodiversity loss weakens natural defenses. And pollution makes ecosystem even less able to cope. So, kaya, magkakaduktong, kaya the triple planetary crisis. Okay. Pero meron naman pong solusyon. So now that we are aware na-realize na natin na problema natin nga yan at sila pala ay interconnected, okay, pwede din po naman natin yang makaisip tayo ng mga solusyon. Kailangan po integrated solution, no? Integrated systemic action dito sa aking okay? That simultaneously addresses those three: climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. Okay, tingnan po natin itong diagram. So, saan ako mag-start? So, halimbawa, tingnan natin itong restore natural carbon sink. So, punta tayo dito sa biodiversity. So, how do we reverse biodiversity loss? We do biodiversity conservation or nature-based solutions. Or ang Philippines, meron tayong National Greening Program. Nagtatanim po tayo ng mga puno doon sa mga mountains natin, sa mga forests, even sa mga mangroves, no? Okay. So, kapag marami ka na uling lumaki na yung mga puno na itinanim mo, then magre-restore na uli yun ng carbon kasi magsisequester sila dahil magpo-photosynthesize sila habang lumalaki and i-store doon sa katawan ng puno, sa wood and sa kanyang foliage at saka sa roots. Okay. So kapag ka na-sequester niya yung carbon, bawat isang punong yan, every day, every minute, nag-sequester ng carbon, nakakatulong yon sa climate mitigation. Di po ba? Kasi nakakabawas siya ng carbon dioxide na naandyan sa ating atmosphere. So hopefully meron yung impact doon sa ating climate sa ano. Okay, and this will help in our adaptation and being resilient, no? Kung ano man yung sa ano. Okay, so that's one. Okay. Now, tingnan naman natin itong sa pollution. Anong ating pwedeng magawa? Okay, now we are all very familiar with circular economy. So kung narinig niyo na yung 3 Rs, reduce, reuse, recycle, no? Okay, zero waste system. So merong agricultural systems na zero waste. So let's say yung mga crop residues nila ginagamit din as organic fertilizer, ibinabalik din sa lupa para zero waste. Okay? So all of this to prevent pollution. So mai-improve yung soil and water quality kapag ginawa natin yan. Kapag gumanda na yung soil and water quality, di maganda na uli ang tubo, no, ng ating mga halaman. So kaya nag-feed in din, no, may feedback loop. So kailangan lang natin integrated systemic action. So an integrated planning transforms a single intervention into multiple environmental, social, and economic outcomes, accelerating progress toward achieving several SDGs all at the same time or simultaneously. Yan po yung aking gustong ipakita sa inyo sa mga case studies. Okay. Now, bago ko present yung case studies, tingnan lang muna natin yung sustainability framework natin sa ating bansa. Okay, meron tayong global commitment. So, sa Sustainable Development Goals, which is kaya nga meron tayong topic na ganyan. Ano ang response ng Philippines? So, anong policy natin? Nag-develop tayo or nag-approve yung ating lawmakers ng Philippine Development Plan, pati yung ating mga iba-ibang agencies, they were involved in developing our Philippine Development Plan at saka SDG localization initiatives. Actually, yung aking case studies ay example nitong SDG localization initiatives. Okay. Another global commitment natin ay sa Paris Agreement. Kaya meron tayong sinasubmit na NDC, Nationally Determined Contribution. Kakasubmit lang natin yan last year or a couple of years ago. At meron din tayong National Adaptation Plan. Sa biodiversity naman, ang global commitment natin ay sa Global Biodiversity Framework. Following this framework, bumuo naman ang Philippines ng PBSA, Philippine Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. Okay, ang Sendai Framework naman, ito naman yung para sa National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan. So, ang PDP, it gives national development direction. Ang NDC at saka NAP, they cover climate mitigation and adaptation. Ang PBSAP covers biodiversity protection and NDRRMP covers disaster risk reduction and resilience. So, ang ating bansa, okay, has basically incorporated global sustainability commitments into national policies that guide climate action, biodiversity conservation, disaster risk reduction, and local development planning. Okay, now ang susunod, syempre, now that we have this framework, ang susunod is to translate these global commitments into action. Okay? Addressing the triple planetary crisis requires coordinated implementation of global sustainability frameworks that recognize the interdependence ng tatlo, climate, biodiversity, disaster resilience, pang-apat na pala yun, and sustainable development. Okay, so in the diagram here, I'm just showing you yung 3 spheres of sustainability na nasa gitna. Merong social aspect or social sphere, which includes standard of living, education, community, equal opportunity. May economic sphere, profit, cost-saving, economic growth. And environmental, use of natural resources, pollution prevention, environmental management. Okay. And then, meron ding intersection, yung social environmental, environmental justice, natural resource stewardship. Okay. Ang intersection naman economic at environmental is energy efficiency, efficient use of natural resources. And then for social and economic, ang intersection naman niya ay business ethics, fair trade, and workers' rights. And pinakagitna, yung sustainability, which is the heart of this webinar series, no? So we have this framework, global framework, meron tayong national framework, and then nilocalize din yung mga yan. The challenge actually is no longer developing new global commitments, but translating these commitments into effective local action. Okay, so yung mga local action na yun, the intervention or the local action must demonstrate how integrated planning and nature-based solutions operationalize SDG synergies and address the triple planetary crisis. So just taking a look at this table, so okay, so let's say we evaluate at the, ano yung local challenge? Let's say sa LGU na ito, okay? They have to identify the primary environmental or development issue na kailangan nilang i-address, okay? And then kailangan examine nila how planning and nature-based solutions were applied para magkaroon sila ng integrated intervention. Okay? And then tingnan nila ano yung mga SDGs na na-address. No? Okay. And then sa triple planetary crisis naman, they have to assess the contributions to climate action, biodiversity conservation, and pollution reduction. They have to take a look also into the co-benefits, evaluate environmental, social, and economic outcomes, and ano yung transferable lessons, identify strategies that can inform other local governments and regions. Okay, so yung tatlong case studies na ipe-present ko, we will be looking at these different dimensions. Okay, so eto na po. Yung tatlong Philippine case studies that I would like to share with you that demonstrate SDG synergies. So we have the Santa Rosa Silang Sub-Watershed, the first case study. Another one also in Santa Rosa City, the Evozone Rain Garden. Ito po, yung may tubig na yan. Man-made po yan. And then, yung pangatlo kong example is yung mangrove protected area sa Calapan City. Okay. These three initiatives demonstrate a common approach to sustainable development by integrating multiple sectors, applying NBS, and generating co-benefits across several sustainable development goals. Okay, so just in a nutshell, okay, ang una pong case study, Santa Rosa Watershed, ang development challenge po dito is watershed degradation, flooding, and land use conflicts. Actually, sa Santa Rosa Watershed, this includes Santa Rosa Silang, no? Yung apat na Santa Rosa, Binyan, Cabuyao, and Silang. Okay. Integrated intervention, they have integrated watershed governance and land use planning, addressing these different SDGs, which iisa-isahin ko rin mamaya. Calapan City, ang problema nila, coastal degradation, biodiversity loss, and livelihood vulnerability. Ang kanilang intervention, yung kanilang marine protected areas, mangrove conservation, and ecotourism. The Evozone Rain Garden, ang problema po rito is urban flooding and stormwater runoff. Okay, yung mga flash floods. Okay. Ang kanilang interest is green infrastructure. Sabi ko sa inyo, man-made po yan, yung parang river na yan or and rain garden system. Okay, let's start with the Santa Rosa Silang Sub-Watershed. Ito po yan, yung may red na boundary. Basically, it's composed of 3 cities, so multiple cities. Binyan, Santa Rosa, Cabuyao. So, but mainly, pinakamalaking chunk yan halos buong Santa Rosa City. Konti lang dito sa Binyan at saka sa Cabuyao. And upstream would be the municipality of Silang from Cavite Province. Okay. The Santa Rosa Silang Sub-Watershed is one of the 24 sub-watersheds that surround Laguna Lake. Okay. Now, bakit napili namin ang Santa Rosa Silang Sub-Watershed? When we were starting our project way back in 2014, we wanted to look at a location na multiple cities and then rapid ang urbanization. So we know that yung urbanization dito sa area na to, no, dito sa San Pedro, Binyan, Santa Rosa, Cabuyao, hanggang Calamba, it started in the 1990s. So almost 30 years ago, 3.5 decades ago na. Bakit dito? Kasi relatively malapit sa Metro Manila. At saka at that time, ito na yung nagkaroon ng SLEX, Kaya yung transportation mabilis na yung access. So dito nag-start ng ma-urbanize, ang dami ng mga technoparks na binuksan dito. So and together with this industrialization, siyempre nagkaroon ng influx ng mga workers, no? Ng mga nagtatrabaho diyan sa iba-ibang industries diyan, kailangan ma-providean din ng housing. So kaya maraming mga subdivisions diyan, no? So and then commercial areas, then Nuvali actually is located here in the midstream area. Okay. Previously, bago ito na-convert into industrial site, ito pong midstream area na to, this used to be part of the Canlubang, yung kanilang mga taniman ng tubo, ng ano nga ang tubo?
Ma'am, sugarcane.
Sugarcane, that's right. So sugarcane plantation. So ito ay part lang noong Canlubang Estate. So hanggang dito 'yan sa Calamba, lahat ito. Okay. Now dito naman sa bandang ibaba sa dito yung yung town proper ng Santa Rosa tsaka now dito karamihan dito before ay mga rice fields. Okay? And then dito naman sa silang sa itaas, ito yung 1970s, 80s, ang dami ditong mga kapehan, no? Coffee agroforestry systems, very very popular yun nun. Kaya lang nung bumaksak yung coffee industry, so inabandon na nila yung mga tanim na kape. Andun pa yung iba pero hindi na inalagaan. So nag-ano na lang sila ng pinya and then later on, after na makita nila ang development sa Santa Rosa, wow, ang yaman ng Santa Rosa, urbanized. They also want, no, na sana ma-urbanize din sila. So yung mga farms actual dito when we were conducting our study, nakakalungkot nga lang kasi most of these farms ay nabenta na sa mga land developers. So that was 20 years ago na. Unti-unti na yan na-develop into high-end subdivisions. Kasi maganda dyan ang hangin malamig at saka Tapos, okay, so dito sa midstream area, the urbanization. So, yung mga dating sugarcane fields, ayan, na-convert na into technopark industries. Tapos, andyan na rin yung mga Santa Rosa Estates, yung iba-ibang mga subdivisions. So, marami na mga bahay, marami na mga building, marami ng karsada. So, na-concretize na halos yung kanyang surface area, no? Tapos, ang dami ng mga sasakyan, daming tao, daming tricycle, ang daming motor, so ang daming pollution din. Na ang daming waste, no? Yun din kasi syempre, daming tao ka na, di maraming waste. So lahat ng yun. Although lumaki talaga yumaman ng Santa Rosa, ang laki ng income nila from this. Okay, so yan yung istorya doon sa So, yung problema dyan, the Santa Rosa Waters is a critical natural resource that supplies water for domestic. Alam niyo po, taga Santa Rosa ako, dito sa Tagapo. I remember noong sa likod bahay namin, puro palayan pa yon nung ako'y bata pa. Ngayon, puro bahay na po yan, puro subdivision. At saka noong unang panahon, nung bata pa ako, mayaman kami sa tubig lahat halos ng mga bahay may kanya-kanyang deep well, may bomba kasi ilang tubo lang, ang dami ng tubig. At saka isa ito sa reason kung bakit yung bottling companies like Coca-Cola, matagal na sila yung mga nauna diyan sa Technopark na nagtayo. Bakit nila pinili ang Santa Rosa? That is because of the copious amount of water, groundwater na available. Napakayaman, ang daming So para masupplyan. Even yung Asia Brewery, no, andi dito sa banda rito nakabuyo kasi ang daming tubig. And then nagsulputan na tong ibang mga industries. Everybody is demanding water from the ground. Okay. Ito po yung tragedy of the common. So, ngayon po, okay, kapag summer, yun pong, tapos malapit sa amin sa Tagapo, itinayo yung SM. Ang laki din, dami din niyang humigop ng groundwater. Kaya nung itinayo yung SM noon, pag summer, yung mga deep well namin, yung mga bomba, wala ka nang mabomba na bumomba ka ng bumomba, walang lumalabas na tubig. So that is going to be a problem here. Fresh water, yung groundwater, no? Magiging scarce na to in the future. Coupled with that, yung aquifer sa ilalim ng Santa Rosa, ang recharge zone po ng aquifer na yan ay sa itaas. Dito po sa Mesilang area. Kung ikino-convert na rin ito, nawawala ang mga puno, yung mga agroforestry systems ay mawawala. So mababawasan na rin yung tubig na mapupunta sa recharge zone, di po ba? Kukunti lang yung magi-infiltrate at saka percolate. So, tapos, because of these developments, ang nagiging problema nito sa Santa Rosa, kapag laging may flash floods, kasi po, imbis na papunta sa ilalim, sa groundwater ang runoff na lang. So, flash floods. So, kaya lagi binabaha. Yan. So, yan yon. So, nawala na po yan. So, rapid urban expansion, land use conversion, and competing development demands have increased pressure on the watershed resources, threatening water security and ecosystem integrity. Okay. So, dito sa case study na to, dine-demonstrate po namin na yung integrated watershed management approach ay kailangan, combination ng watershed protection, land use planning, stakeholder participation, ecosystem conservation, and science-based decision-making. Okay, so ito na po yung mga kwento ko. So kita nyo, sa Santa Rosa po ito. Sa ganyan po yung kasi nga, sa lakas ng bagyo yung tubig, ganyan. At saka miski ngayon po, kahit hindi, I think this is Typhoon Ondoy, napakadami po talagang tubig naman nun. Pero ngayon po, sinasabi nila, kasi pag nakikipag-meeting kami sa Santa Rosa, sa LGU, sinasabi nila, alam nyo ma'am, minsan po, hindi naman umulan sa Santa Rosa, pero pagising namin sa umaga, may baha kami kahit a few centimeters. Bakit? Kasi po umulan pala magdamag doon sa may silang, sa upstream area. Kaya yon runoff. No? So that's a common problem now ngayon sa downstream area ng watershed. Okay. So, balik tayo sa aking slide. No? Issues and key challenges. So, 4,156 hectare yung buong sa watershed ng Santa Rosa. Silang, spanning from Cavite, Laguna, yung tatlong cities, okay, nag-experience ng rapid industrialization dito sa downstream area and urban expansion. Dami na pong subdivisions. Miski nga po yan sa amin sa Tagapo Dati-rati nung bata pa ako, kilala ko lahat yung mga kapitbahay. Ngayon, hindi mo nakilala yung mga ang dami na pong mga dayuhan, no? Mga migrants kasi diyan na sa mga subdivisions nakatira. Okay. Land use change reduced the green cover, increased carbon emissions, and heightened flood vulnerability. Yun na po yung explained ko. Without integrated planning, flood-prone areas were projected to expand from 970 to 1,200 hectares, affecting so many residents. So ano ang key challenges dito sa watershed? Expansion of urban and industrial areas, forest and watershed degradation, increasing flood risks, declining water quality, not only quality but also quantity. Okay, and competing land use demands among maikwento ko lang po, with regard to water quality. Alam niyo po ba, maganda talaga yung water quality diyan sa Santa Rosa, yung groundwater. Di ba parang tinitingnan niya ng ng yung reduction potential or yung ibang properties ng water na yun ang kailangan ng ibang yung mga company sa computer, yung nagagawa ng chips. Parang ganun kagandang tubig ang kailangan nila and nakukuha yun doon sa Santa Rosa. Kaya ang dami doon na mga Japanese companies doon nagtayo. Okay, so kaya lang ang problema po, nagde-decline yung water quality and quantity dahil sa dami ng gumagamit, no, multiple users. Okay. So, ito na yung aming approach, okay, when we had the project. So, una muna, okay, so we invited, ito mga taga Santa Rosa City, Kabilang Table, taga Kabuyao, Silang, and Binyan. So, ito po mga LGU officials ng environment, city planning, agriculture, engineering office, and so on. And then we presented to them, ito yung noong 2014 when we conducted the project, ito po yung current land use. Pag kulay dilaw, residential, yun na po yung old town. Kapag kulay green na ganito, ito po yung natitira pa na rice fields. Okay? And then, itong mga kulay pink na to, ito yung mga nabili na lupa, mga idle grasslands, pero naghihintay na lang ng conversion. Ang kulay pula, ito na po yung sa Nuvali, no? Sa Technopark, yan na po yung mga industries. Okay? And then, punta tayo sa itaas, yung kulay green na yan, mga forest pa yan, maganda pa yan nun, no? Doon sa Silang. Ang kulay purple, mga coconut-based, mga agroforestry systems. Okay. So, pinresent namin, okay, ito yung current land use 2014. So, sabihin natin, let's put a scenario. by 10 years, 15 years from now, ano yung mga plano nyo dito sa sa land use nyo? Anong gagawin nyo? Lundag lang po ako dito sa ito po. Ito yung naging resulta. So, on top of the land use map, naglagay kami ng tracing paper. And then pinadrawing namin sa kanila, ano po yung plano nyo? Ito po ang mangyayari. Okay. Yung kulay pula, ayan, madadagdagan yung industrial sites. Tapos, yung pong lahat ng black, mga residential na yan. So, yung mga lahat yan, subdivisions, na. Okay. So, balik lang ako doon sa previous slide. So, that's step 1. Nung mga gather namin yan, balik kami sa lab, yung team, dinigitize namin dinigitize ito. And then, nag-conduct kami ng modeling using HEC-RAS and HEC-HMS, GIS-based hydrological modeling, to simulate future flooding. Considering 10 years from 2014, ito na yung climate scenarios, no? So, pati yung mga GCM models, ginamit din namin. Tinignan namin kung aling areas ang under risk for future flooding, no? Under these climate change scenarios. And then balik uli kami sa kanila, minute uli namin, tinawag uli namin sila. And then pinresent namin yung output ng hydrological modeling. Sabi namin, ganito ang mangyayari. Mas lalapad yung area na mababaha dito sa downstream area and even sa riparian areas, yung mga malapit sa Santa Rosa River. And then yung level ng tubig tataas din. So, isang aspect lang po yon, flooding from upstream. Okay? Problema din po natin sa Laguna Lake, kapag po ang tagal ng ulan, let's say mga isang buwan na, dire-diretso ang ulan, okay? Since isa lang ang outlet, no, sa Lapindan Channel, palabas ng Manila Bay, tapos ang dami, 24 sub-watersheds siya na magbubuhos ng tubig doon sa Laguna Lake. So ano po ang nangyayari? Tumataas po ang level, no? So kung halimbawa tumaas ang level, so definitely itong coastal areas na to will be under water, submerged yan. And ito po yung problema kapag sea level rise or lake water level rise na yan. Hindi yan mawawala ng isang gabi or isang araw lang. It will stay there for months. No? Minsan, some beses, hanggang 6 na buwan. Actually, itong paligid ng Laguna Lake, no, sa Santa Cruz, grabe din yung flooding na yon. So dalawang klase yung flooding. Kapag kasi yung storm water, flash floods lang, runoff galing dito sa taas, usually dadaan lang yan. Mag-stay within a few hours or overnight lang. And then baba na yan doon sa lake, then natira na lang sa'yo mga putik at saka linisin, no? But kapag water level dito sa lake ang tumaas, yun ang problema. Mas matagal, namamangka na po yung mga locals dyan or lumilikas muna sila kung wala silang second floor. Okay, so pinresent na, ayun ang scenario, ano na mangyayari. So, nagkaroon ng step 3 is collaborative planning workshop. Okay, with them. Pinag-isipan namin, ano-ano yung mga countermeasures. So, ano yung climate adaptation? We have 2 columns. Ito yung mga pwedeng climate adaptation and climate mitigation strategies. So, pinag-isipan nila alin yung mga gusto nila. So, mga example lang yon, land use zoning, green infrastructure, vegetation conservation, or meron din sabi nila yung mga nakatira kasi madami din sa tabing ilog, madami din silang illegal settlers. So, kailangan ma-delineate nila yung area na dapat ay walang So, nalimutan ko yung term. So, dapat clear yung tabihan ng ilog. So, marami kaming nilistang And then, ang Santa Rosa City, when they updated their clue, in-include nila itong mga countermeasures na ito doon sa kanilang comprehensive land use plan. Okay. Another aspect is that sometime during the conduct of our study, nagkaroon ng Memorandum of Agreement yung LLDA, so Laguna General Manager, and then Mayor Santa Rosa, Binyan, Silang, at saka yung sa Kabuyaw, na bumuo ng Council for Integrated Watershed Management as a coordination mechanism para nga maano yung water quality at yung flooding doon sa So, Naka-attend yung aming research team. By the way, ang research team po niyan ay ako from UPLB tsaka aming mga RA, but then ang malaking component po ay mga researchers from Japan, from Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. Tsaka yung funding din po ng project ay from Japan, Ministry of Environment of Japan. So, for several years po namin na tong project na to. By the way, ang side info din po. So, bago din sila actually, itong Memorandum of Agreement na to, ito ay recommendation ng previous project bago pa kami mag-start. Project funded by Coca-Cola na ginawa ng Worldwide Fund sa hydrological study. And ito yung isang recommendation nila to have this council. So alam niyo, interesado kasi ang Coca-Cola, pinagawa niya yung hydrological study doon dahil major concern nila is water. Kailangan nila kasi yun para sa kanilang Coke, sa kanilang mga drinks, and so on. So, 5-year project din yun, yung WWF na yan. And then, tamang-tama naman, when we were implementing our project, na Tiyempo, okay? Na nagkaroon ng nitong MOA, and then, naka-attend din kami ng mga meetings nitong council. Alright. So, yun yung istorya ng case 1 natin. Balik sa SDG, sabi natin SDG synergies. Ano-ano yung iba-ibang synergy na na-address nung project? SDG 6, Clean Water and Sanitation, Target 6.5 and 6.6. Supports integrated watershed management by coordinating 4 LGUs under the Council for Integrated Watershed Management, ensuring sustainable water flow, reduced flooding, and protection of the Santa Rosa Silang River and Laguna Lake ecosystems. SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. So promotes participatory and climate-responsive land use planning, reducing projected flood impacts by 20%, and embedding adaptation measures into local comprehensive land use plan, creating more resilient and inclusive cities. Climate action integrates climate change adaptation and mitigation into local planning through modeling and stakeholder workshops, enhancing LGU capacity, and avoiding 528,000 tons of CO2 emissions by preserving vegetation. Life on Land, SDG 15, preserves forest and agroforestry zones in the upper watershed to maintain biodiversity. Tsaka doon po sa mga riparian, sa mga tabihang ilog, prevent further land degradation and promote land degradation neutrality. SDG 17, Partnerships for the Goals, demonstrates a strong multi-stakeholder collaboration among LGUs, UPLB, IGES Japan, and LLDA, and institutionalized through a shared watershed council for sustained coordination. So, to summarize, ang SDG synergies generated by the Santa Rosa Watershed Initiative are climate change adaptation and mitigation integration, cross-sectoral collaboration, and co-benefits include improved flood resilience, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and maintained ecosystem services that support agriculture and water security. So, to sum it up, one watershed management strategy generated multiple environmental and governance outcomes simultaneously. Okay. 4:34 na agad, ang bilis. Naka-isang oras na pala ako. So, meron pa akong 2 case studies. Okay lang po ba? Bibilisan ko na yung presentation ko sa susunod na
Take your time
cases.
po.
Ha?
Take your
Kasi,
time.
take my time. Okay. Napapasarap ako ng kwento eh. Pasensya na.
At ma'am,
Okay.
napapasarap din po kami makinig.
Okay lang, okay lang. Okay, good. Marami naman kayong natututuhan, I hope, do sa aming project. Okay, pangalawa, Calapan City. Nagkaroon po rin ako ng a number of projects sa Calapan, sa Oriental Mindoro, sa mga mangroves nila. One was project funded by APN. The other one is Hochi through UN Habitat, funded also by people of Japan. Okay. So, sa Calapan, nakasama ko rin sa trabaho ang Menro nila. So, sabi ko kay Ma'am Beth, mag-contribute ka naman dito sa sa case studies na binubuo namin para doon sa Asia Pacific Synergy Report. And ito po yung kanya napili, okay? Yung kanilang marine protected areas and mangrove conservation. Okay, so marami pong may ilan din po na marine protected areas yan sa Calapan, maganda yung mangrove nila. So ginamit nila yon yung MPAs nila as living classrooms and ecotourism sites. Meron silang mangrove treks, meron doong daanan, meron talagang may bird watching and then diving. Okay, and this initiative led to green practices through partnerships, integrating conservation ng mangroves, and then commerce, education, and community-based sustainability efforts. Okay. Okay, so monitoring of corals, fish populations, and tourist impacts, okay, provided real-time feedback for adaptive management. So, importante sa kanila itong monitoring nila yun. Ginagawa nila yan. Okay. So, ano yung mga issues and key challenges? Okay. Ang Calapan City, okay, is responding to mounting biodiversity loss, particularly sa mangrove, urban expansion kasi syempre umuunlad na rin ang Calapan eh. Okay, siya lang ang city doon sa doon sa Oriental Mindoro. And climate vulnerabilities by redefining itself as a model green city. Gusto nila maging model green city sila not only sa Oriental Mindoro but sa buong Mimaropa region. Ganun kataas yung kanilang dream eh. Ano yung challenges nila? Mangrove cutting kasi minsan may encroachment doon sa coastal area, so ginagamit for house construction. Fish pond establishment. Tapos marami ding abandoned fish ponds. And then ginagamit din yung mga mangrove trees for charcoal making. So doon sa may mga projects naman na nagka-experience na napaplant yung wrong mangrove species sa wrong substrate kung sadi or muddy and so on. So and then nako-convert itong ilang coastal areas nila sa residential. And maraming napupunta, lumilipat na coastal residents. Okay, so ano-ano yung approaches nila? So yung una, sustainable ecotourism. Ito yung sa Silonay mangrove, they activated their marine protected areas. So as ecotourism destinations through mangrove trek, ayan, pwede kang maglakad dyan, makita mo yung mga mangroves nila. Okay, pwede rin kayong kung yung mga, nung pumunta kami dyan, merong mga volunteer groups, nagtatanim sila ng mga mangrove seedlings. So, pwede rin i-organize din yan. Okay. Bird watching, diving, and green tourism initiatives. Okay. By integrating conservation with tourism, Calapan transformed protected areas into drivers of environmental awareness and sustainable local economic growth. So marami po dyan nagpi-field trip na mga estudyante rin. Hindi lang mga estudyante, pati mga civil societies, interesado sila. Okay. And then, another aspect dun sa is collaborative governance. The strengthened partnership among the city government, the local communities, yung mga coastal communities dyan, ecotourism operators, and environmental organizations, okay, to integrate conservation with sustainable tourism. So marami po silang mga trainings din dyan, mga lectures, para magkaroon sila ng sustainable ecotourism. Okay, and they have shared stewardship, fostered local ownership. So kaya yung mga local communities din talagang they feel na kanila yan, kaya inaalagaan din nila, improved compliance with conservation measures and strengthened long-term ecosystem management. Okay. So meron ding climate and livelihood benefits, yung kanila So they have kinompute nila based dun sa dami ng kanilang mga mangrove trees and so on na nakasequester na tong mga mangroves nila ng madami na 100,000 metric tons of carbon. Which, syempre, kapag alam naman natin, kapag maganda ang iyong mangroves, okay, it will enhance disaster resilience. Hindi basta-basta sila sisira yung mga communities ng mga ng mga alon kapag merong malalakas na bagyo. Okay. And generated green livelihood opportunities through mangrove conservation. So kasi kapag na-conserve din nila yung mangrove, madami din po silang nahuhuling mga mollusks and shells, So marami silang napapakinabangan din dyan. Tsaka kasi ang mangrove, kasi breeding ground din yan ng mga isda. Okay, so dyan din nangingitlog. Okay, so the initiative demonstrated that healthy coastal ecosystems can simultaneously deliver climate mitigation, adaptation, and socioeconomic benefits. Okay. Another aspect nung sa Calapan is the adaptive ecosystem management. Okay. They continuously monitored coral reefs, fish populations, and tourism impacts to support their evidence-based management and ensure long-term ecosystem sustainability. Okay. The regular monitoring enabled adaptive management. So, kaagad-agad nagagawaan nila ng solusyon kung meron man silang nakikitang problema. Ensuring that tourism development remain compatible with biodiversity conservation and ecosystem health. Okay, so ito yung 4 na SDGs na nasagot noong Coastal Ecosystem Management Initiative ng Calapan. SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. 11.14, Safeguard Natural Heritage through Biodiversity Inclusive Urban Planning. Ang maganda rito sa Calapan, side info lang po. Alam niyo po ba, doon sa pinaka-heart ng city, sa pinaka-gitna, meron po kaduksong na mangrove. Andun po, yung mangrove, ang dami iba-ibang so pwedeng doon na mismo sa heart ng city, papasok ka lang doon sa mangrove area. Tsaka likod din po to ng school. Kaya ito ay research din noong school. Diyan din nag-aaral yung mga estudyante ng biodiversity ng mangroves nila. Okay. 11.7, expand accessible green and public spaces. Yan. Okay. SDG 13, climate action. 13.1, strengthen resilience to climate-related disasters. Kasi maganda yung mangrove nila sa And improve awareness and institutional capacity on climate mitigation. Life below water, sustainably manage and protect marine ecosystems, life on land, conserve inland and coastal ecosystems, and help biodiversity loss and protect threatened species. Okay. So, in summary, yung SDG synergies ng Calapan City Coastal Ecosystem Management Initiative, it shows that synergies flourish where local culture meets environmental purpose. Success depends on engaging communities as co-creators, not just beneficiaries. Kaya meron silang sense of ownership. Invest early in data collection and storage. Ito po yung kanilang monitoring, no? Awareness and partnerships. Prioritize biodiversity in planning, not as a cost, but as a catalyst. So, to sum it up, sa case 2 ng Calapan City, conservation investments become more sustainable when they improve local livelihoods while protecting biodiversity. Okay. And the third one, balik tayo sa Santa Rosa City. Doon po sa gitna, sa Nuvali, sa midstream area. Ito na po yung highly industrialized, urbanized section. So doon nyo po makikita yung Evozone Rain Garden. It is a green infrastructure, okay, for urban resilience. So yung balik tayo sa kwento sa Santa Rosa City, dahil sa madami ng mga semento, mga buildings, mga marami ng impervious surveys, okay, that led to reduced infiltration and greater stormwater runoff. In response, Evozone implemented rain gardens as a nature-based solution to complement and reduce dependence on conventional drainage infrastructure. The Evozone Rain Garden was developed in 2014 as part of the Nuvali Eco City in Santa Rosa. It represents multifunctional, nature-based solution that integrates flood control, biodiversity conservation, kasi nagtanim po sila dyan, iba-ibang klaseng bamboo, ang dami po dyan, tsaka iba pang native species, and community recreation. Kasi meron dyan, pwede kang maglakad dyan, pwede kang tumambay, pwede mag-picnic, pwede kang mag-yoga, mag-aerobics. So marami po nagaganyan. Okay. Issues and key challenges, rapid urbanization. By the way, gusto ko lang pakita sa inyo, ito yung slide. 2007, ito po yung Laguna Lake, ito yung downstream area ng Santa Rosa. Ito yung Old Town. So ito pa, makikita niyo, sabi ko sa inyo, sa likod bahay namin, marami pang mga taniman ng palay nung araw. Okay. But in a span of 7 years, by 2014, ito na po yung itsura niya. Just to show you, yung pong dating mga palayan, ayan na po, subdivision, housing, complex, etc. Okay? Konti na lang, ito 2014 pa to. Ngayon po, wala na rin po ito. Na siguro po na-convert na rin. So this is downstream. Ganyan din halos ang scenario doon sa midstream, sa Nuvali area. Yung mga sugarcane, ayun, puro technopark na at saka residential and commercial area. Okay. So issues and key challenges. Rapid urbanization and conventional drainage systems have increased flooding, stormwater pollution, and loss of urban biodiversity, highlighting the need for nature-based stormwater management solution. Key challenges: expansion of impervious surfaces, runoff carried sediments, nutrients, oil, and other pollutants into nearby waterways, degrading water quality. Rapid urban development reduced vegetated areas, limiting biodiversity and ecological functions within the urban landscape. More intense rainfall events overwhelmed conventional drainage systems, increasing flood risk. Ito nyo, ang tataas ng baha at saka mas malimit. Reliance on gray infrastructure focused on rapid drainage rather than infiltration, water treatment, and ecosystem restoration. So, iyan na po. Ito po yung EvoZone. So, yan po. Okay, so yung approaches. The EvoZone Rain Garden demonstrates that a single multifunctional nature-based intervention can integrate stormwater management, habitat restoration, and public recreation, providing hydrological, ecological, and social benefits within a rapidly urbanizing landscape. So yun na nga po, 3.2 hectares yung EvoZone Rain Garden na yan. It's a blue-green infrastructure integrating flood control, biodiversity conservation, and community recreation. Okay. Design the site as rainwater catchment basin and fire reserve. Kung may sunog man po, pwede dyan kumuha ng tubig. Using sandstones and native vegetation to naturally capture, filter, and infiltrate stormwater runoff. Okay. So, another function, integrated public green space. Combined ecological functions with recreation through open trails, view deck, footbridge that promote well-being, exercise, and social interaction. Okay. So, climate and livelihood benefits. So, yung climate dyan, so rainwater catchment basin. So, maganda rin po dyan, maginhawa, may mga puno, relaxing, okay? And then collaborative and adaptive ecosystem management. It was implemented through collaboration among Ayala Land, Santa Rosa City Government, and the community, demonstrating how public-private partnerships can deliver hydrological, ecological, and social resilience. So, ang daming SDGs, no? Good health and well-being. The Rain Garden promotes physical and mental well-being by providing open, green spaces for walking, biking, and recreation. Its vegetation also improves local air quality and filters stormwater, reducing pollution exposure in the area. Clean water and sanitation. Designed as a rainwater catchment basin, the garden naturally filters runoff, enhances water reuse for irrigation, fire, kung merong and fire control, and restores a small wetland ecosystem within an urban landscape. Sustainable cities and communities, the project integrates green infrastructure into urban planning, reduces flooding, and provides free, inclusive access to public green space, contributing to a safer and more resilient city. Climate action. By retaining stormwater and mitigating flood risk, the Rain Garden strengthens local climate resilience and demonstrates how nature-based solutions can be integrated into city development and climate policies. And SDG 15, Life on Land, the site restores degraded land and creates habitats for diverse bamboo, tree, and bird species, showcasing biodiversity integration in urban planning and ecosystem restoration. So, SDG synergies generated by the EvoZone Rain Garden, water management and climate resilience, reduced surface runoff and improved stormwater retention through natural infiltration systems, biodiversity conservation, restoration of local habitats, and increased presence of bird and plant species within an urban setting, health and well-being, enhanced physical and mental health through accessible green spaces for recreation, yoga, cycling, walking, urban sustainability, integration of eco-friendly landscape design within a commercial development, aligning economic growth with ecological balance. So to sum it up, nature-based infrastructure enhances resilience, biodiversity, and well-being through integrated planning, cross-sector collaboration, private public partnership, and accessible, inclusive urban green spaces. Okay, so cross-cutting lessons. What makes these SDG synergies work? The three case studies demonstrate that a single integrated intervention can simultaneously contribute to multiple SDGs and address the triple planetary crisis. So let's take a look at Calapan. Na-address niya climate, carbon storage, storm protection. Biodiversity, yung reefs, mangroves, tsaka fish niya. Pollution, cleaner coastal waters. Santa Rosa watershed planning, sa climate, flood, and CO2 emission reduction. Biodiversity, forest and agroforestry protection, even the riparian vegetation. Okay? Pollution, reduced runoff and erosion. Ebozone rain garden, sa climate, flood mitigation, biodiversity, urban habitat, kita niyo yung mga tinanim doon, and pollution, stormwater filtration. Okay, so breaking development silos through integrated planning. These Philippine case studies show that when cities integrate planning, nature, and climate action, one investment delivers many SDG benefits. Tatingnan natin yung silo. Urban planning versus climate risk, how it was broken. Santa Rosa used flood models and climate data inside zoning and land use plans. Tourism versus biodiversity, Calapan made reefs and mangroves the core tourism asset. Water management versus green space, Ebozone used plants and soil instead of concrete drainage. Local governments versus each other, ang Santa Rosa Subwatershed created the Multi-LGU Watershed Council. Private sector versus environment, Ayala Land designed Ebozone as both business infrastructure and ecosystem structure. Health versus urban design, Ebozone provides flood protection and public wellness space. Okay, so toward integrated and scalable SDG synergies, the Philippine case studies show that SDG synergies can be operationalized through integrated planning, nature-based solution, and collaborative governance. Rather than pursuing isolated environmental objectives, integrated planning enables local governments to maximize the environmental, social, and economic returns of a single investment, providing a practical pathway toward achieving multiple sustainable development goals while addressing climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution simultaneously. My last slide is the Asia-Pacific Synergies Report. Okay, ito yung aking nabanggit kanina. Yung dalawang case studies included dito sa yung Santa Rosa at Ebozone. Okay. The Asia-Pacific Synergies Report, it was launched on just last month, 30 June 2026, okay? During the 7th Global Conference on Climate and SDG Synergies, followed by a dedicated session highlighting its key findings and regional implications. Why it matters? This report serves as the foundational knowledge source for ESCAP's regional program of action on advancing SDG synergies. It supports the ministerial declaration to be adopted during the 9th session of the Committee on Environment and Development. It will serve as a key reference throughout the CED9 discussions on integrated climate and sustainable development policies. Isa po ako sa mga authors sa Synergies Report. Yung sa cities po, co-lead author po ako doon. And then, aside from the Synergies Report, meron po itong kasama na compilation ng case studies. More than 140, actually ang bilang ko nga 145 case studies across the Asia-Pacific region. Andoroon po doon sa sa kasamang yung case study compilation, okay? These case studies demonstrates practical applications of SDG synergies in diverse environmental, social, and economic contexts. It highlights replicable approaches for integrated planning and implementation. Doon po sa compilation na yan, we have about 14 case studies galing sa Philippines. So, dalawa po yung na-mention ko. Marami pa pong iba. Solarization, alternative wet and dry cycles ng mga for less methane emission from rice fields, at marami pa pong iba po ay sa circular economy. The full report and the accompanying case study compilation can be accessed through this website. Or hanapin nyo lang po, siguro sa ESCAP website, naandyan din po yun, and so on. So, sa IGES, ito po, meron silang dedicated link for this report. Kasi IGES ang secretariat po sa Asia Pacific Synergies Report. And yun lang po. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig. Thank you very much.
Ako ma'am, maraming salamat po. So everyone will agree na yung isang semester po ng subject o course parang sinamarize si ma'am sa 1.5 oras.
Oo nga kaya
Saka for sure everyone will relate na ito ay isang problema na hindi lang po nangyayari sa Santa Rosa, sa Calapan o sa ano man. Ito po yung nangyayari po sa lahat ng parte po ng Pilipinas. Lalo-lalo na po yung mga, kilala na po natin kung sino mahilig mag-convert ng land into real estate properties. So anyways, we're going to open the floor sa mga questions po natin mga panelists, attendees. So please feel free
Oo.
to ask questions. Ito po man pala, habang ano po sila, nag-iisip ng katanungan, ano ko lang po itong kay Sir Ike at saka kay Sir Rafael Barros, kay Sir Rafi, po pwede daw po ba na makishare ng inyong slides?
Sure. Isi-share ko sa iyo, Mark. Ano? Paano ko?
Sige po.
Or ano? Kanino ko? Basta, sige. Sa iyo siguro. I-share ko via
Share ko na
email.
lang niyo po sa akin and then they
Okay.
will email me po. So sa
Sure.
ating pong mga gustong makahingi po ng slide ni ma'am, itatype ko po ang ating email address sa chat box para doon po mas-set ko po sa inyo in bulk yung ating pong. So ito po, habang tinatay ko po yan, gusto ko lang po sabihin itong pahayag ni Mr. Michael Galang. So, good day from Southern Leyte. So my question is about private sector involvement in water governance. Given the controversy surrounding Coca-Cola's water use and pollution in some countries, do you think granting the company a significant role in water management and research could create conflicts of interest or give the company too much control over our water resources? If so, what safeguards should be in place to ensure that public interest remains the priority?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you po. Very challenging nga, no?
Ang hirap pong bumangga, ma'am, sa pader.
Oo nga. Okay, so I think I know it's an ongoing issue, no? Kasi nga yung baka yung ating water department, they really have to have policy, no, doon sa access to our public water. Kasi totoo yun. Okay, so may mga conflicts na hindi ko masabi diretso na, no, but I think we have to channel it through yung proper no, authorities tsaka lawmakers na sila talaga yung kasi nga because of these conflicts in water use. Okay, oo, totoo yun. Okay, so
Tama po
I
yun.
think yung nabanggit ko kanina, yung WWF project funded by Coca-Cola. Kasi yun nga, concern nila kasi yung water. Kasi nga para sa kanilang use nun sa and since dumadami na yung industries, ang daming mga users na noong groundwater, kaya nila yung hydrological modeling, ma-forecast ko ano yung And yun nga ang magkakaroon talaga ng kasi kung mas madami yung extraction kaysa doon tapos nasisira pa yung hindi pa na-maintain yung mga forest doon sa upstream areas na siya dapat siya ang recharge zone. Kasi dito sa ibaba sa ito ang production zone, diyan sila kumukuha. So kailangan talaga integrated watershed planning 'yan. Okay.
And ma'am, aside from sa binabayaran tax po ng Coca-Cola o kaya ng mga big industry surrounding Santa Rosa, do we have any idea if they are paying the necessary ecological services fees?
Alam mo, yun ang hindi ko rin alam. And I think kailangan din ma-involve din diyan ang
Tama po, ma'am.
Laguna Lake Development Authority, no? I don't know kung sa Laguna Lake, pero ang Laguna LLDA kasi sila din dapat nagma-manage ng Laguna Lake watershed, and that is part of the watershed.
Kasi what I heard po, ma'am, dito man po sa Los Baños, Calamba, since napakadami po ng mga resort,
swimming pools
po sa atin, nalaban ko po na Los Baños is planning to charge Calamba for the ecological services since Los Baños po ang nagte-take good care ng Mount Makiling. So ang po ng LB is kami nag-aalaga ng bundok, kayo kumukuha ng tubig namin, so kailangan nyo magbayad.
Yes,
So ma'am, do you
okay.
think kailangan po kayang ipasok yun sa ordinances din po ng Santa Rosa?
Yeah, actually noong as early as 2014, di yung flooding nga na ano, merong mga estudyante ko, tsaka ano, pinagawa na namin yan, payment for ecosystem services. Ilan na yung nag-thesis diyan kasi nga nangangailangan ng tubig and downstream area. So ang groundwater ay nanggagaling sa itaas, no? Sila
Itaas.
yung recharge zone. So parang if you want to have a good quality and yung quantity ng water dito sa ano, so kailangan bayaran mo yung upstream area, yung silang for protecting yung forest doon, tsaka yung agroforestry system para tuloy-tuloy yung recharge zone. So I think dapat talaga maipursu yung mga ano yan. So that was more than 10 years ago na study na. Okay.
Opo, ma'am.
Mm-mm.
Okay, mapunta lang po tayo sa question po ni Mr. Marvin Tejada. So why should we not leave the woodlands and open spaces untouched as it is giving ecosystem services and the value is greater than any future build-up development combined even if it is economically?
Oo. Alam mo yan ay ano, nasa
Masalimuot.
jurisdiction ng masalimuot at saka it is the local government unit, no? That decides kung ano yung land use na gagawain nila doon sa kanilang area. Kaya importante, no, na magkaroon talaga ng environmental awareness ang ating mga policy makers sa mga LGUs. Ma-realize nila yung importance, no, ng ano. At saka
And
kasi doon sinuggest din namin doon sa Santa Rosa Silang Sub-Watershed na yung club kasi ano yun
mhm,
per LGU lang yun. It should be at the sub-watershed level yung management. Kasi 'di ba? Kung ano yung nangyayari sa taas, apektado yung nasa ibaba. So dapat magkasundo sila. So yun ang medyo mahirap na bunuin ano kasi syempre yung silo nila, yung kanila ano no, ang kanilang i-manage lang yung kanilang boundary lang within ano, pero they're part of the ano, kaya dapat talaga ang land use planning should be at the sub-watershed level.
tama po.
Mm.
Masagot ko lang po si Mr. Tejada. Isa pong bagay pong nakakasagabal diyan is for example po sa Santa Rosa, yung pong area po ng Nuvali, that is privately owned by the ULOS. So wala
Yeah.
po talagang magagawa ang LGU
Mm.
kasi that's basically a sugar estate before. So they own the land. So kahit
Mm.
po gusto po namin pakialaman yan at mag-suggest, pag gusto po nilang gawin yung SM o gawin ano, wala po ba talaga
Yeah.
magagawa.
Oo.
Saka dagdag ko rin po yung ano sa kaalaman din po natin mga viewers, isa rin po problema diyan ay isa po nakikita ko diyan ma'am yung lagi ko sinasabi ma'am, yung Local Government Code of 1991 or RA 9170 na kung
Mm.
saan ma'am naka-identified po doon sa lahat po ng syudad sa buong bansa na kapag highly urbanized na ang isang lugar, may kapangyarihan po ang LGU na i-reclassify ang mga agricultural land into urban housing.
Oo, kaya
So,
tumataas ang taxes.
tama po, ma'am. Kaya nakakatawa to Marvin kasi pag pumunta ka sa Santa Rosa, dalawang mukha na hinahati ng SLEX. Yung sa kanan, yung magulo, yung sa kaliwa, napaka-manicured at napakaganda. So doon mo makikita doon sa magandang lugar hindi binabaha tapos doon sa highly urbanized binabaha. So doon pumapasok talaga yung sinasabi naman kanina na land use planning. So
Mm.
doon kitang-kita mo talaga papunta sa Santa Rosa, kaliwat ka na magkaiba talaga siya. So
Mm.
mapunta po tayo sa question po ni Sir Ike. Yes, Sir Ike?
Si Sir Ike, kanina pa nakataas ang kamay ni Sir Ike eh.
Magandang hapon.
Ganda
Dalawa
na.
actually yung tanong ko.
Opo.
Interrelated naman. IT kasi ang background ko.
Opo. Okay.
Karamihan ng LGU, hindi maganda ang kanilang GIS.
Opo.
Okay.
Kulang sila.
Gumagamit sila ng GIS mostly for tax planning.
Opo.
But it seems na hindi rin alam na yung GIS na the same GIS na ginagamit sa tax mapping pwede sa land use planning. Konting ano na lang yun konting conversion, no?
Opo.
Now, napapansin ko, bihira yung gumagamit ng software para sa CLUP. parang karamihan paper map. Yung iba siguro diyan kopong-kopong na yung sistema. Samantala, available naman yung data actually sa NAMRIA. Mayroon pa nga tayong PhilSA ngayon, Philippine Space Agency. And then Google Map
Google Map, opo.
at saka JICA. Ang daming data
Opo.
Pati nga yung USGS available yung data, no?
Mm.
So, yun ba yung dapat nating i-advocate na strengthen nila yung CLUP nila? Pangalawang tanong ko, talaga ba, Doc, hopeless na may free hand na yung LGU na kahit anong gusto nila i-convert nila? Para bang at the rate we are going, mawawala na tayo ng food production. So, siguro, dagdagan ko ng pangatlong tanong, hindi ba pwedeng mga NGO, mga civil society, umupo dun sa Provincial Development Council kaya o sa RDC para sumali tayo sa mga decision making when it comes to conversion based on the CLUP. Comfort level ko kasi dyan, pagka mayroon ng IT na ginagamit para sa GIS at para sa CLUP, data-driven na yon.
Yeah.
Hindi na pwedeng idaan sa impluensya o palakasan o politika. Yun lang po, Doc. Thank you. Ang
Opo.
ganda ng presentation nyo.
Opo.
Nakaka-inspire. Pero nakakabahala din
Opo, kasi daming challenges natin sa ano. Opo, so thank you po doon sa inyong ano, sa inyong comments. Yung una po, yung i-share ko lang po yung aking mga experiences doon sa ano. Kasi doon sa Santa Rosa, sa club, sa kanilang ano, alam niyo po, na-invite din nila ako parang kailan ba? Di ko naman malaman kung early this year, ano, para po doon sa kanilang comprehensive land use plan na updating. Actually, sila po, hinire nila yung ano, private company na gawa ng kanilang comprehensive land use plan. So actually, it's this private consulting firm ang nag-invite po ng mga iba-ibang stakeholders. So nag-invite po sila ng mga representatives from sa Santa Rosa kasi maraming mga industries. So ako po in-invite nila from the academe. So doon po diniscuss yung mga kasi bagay wala na po doon i-convert dahil converted na halos lahat ang sa Santa Rosa. Pero ang gusto ko lang po ipunto ron is meron pong ang local stakeholder consultation silang ginagawa sa comprehensive land use plan nila na ano. So siguro po sana yung ibang bayan ganun din po nagkakaroon din po sila ng stakeholder consultation para makatulong. Alam ko po yung CLUP kapag ano, isinasubmit po nila iyan sa provincial level sa land use plan. Doon po yun chine-check nila bago po yun ibabalik, itataas at the national level. So yun po. Yun ang isa kong alam na pwedeng ma-involve ang mga civil society tsaka ano, doon sa stakeholder consultation sa paggawa ng CLUP nila. Hindi ko lang po alam kung at the provincial level kung nag-i-invite sila ng iba-ibang stakeholders. But with regards to GIS, totoo po iyon. Ang problema lang po sa karamihan ng ating mga LGUs, wala silang technical know-how with regards to GIS sa ano, karamihan po ng ating ano, mga LGUs. Maliban lang po siguro talaga doon sa mga first class, yung mayayaman ng mga cities. Pero yung ibang mga municipalities, yun po ang ano, ang kulang doon sa ano, yung sa GIS, yung sa technology. So, pero tama rin po kayo, kalimitan ng sa GIS nila, ginagamit nila yun for tax mapping. na kung maayos yung kanilang environment na department, magagamit nga din po yung anong yon sa land use plan nila. Okay. Maganda po yung comment nyo na yon. So yun po yung yung akin pong maisi-share with regards to those. Okay.
Salamat po Sir Ike sa inyo po katanungan at sa magandang kasagutan naman po ni Ma'am Demi. Now let's proceed po sa question po ni Sir Cesar. Sir Cesar, are you still with us? Yep.
Good afternoon, Dr. Macandong. Thank you very
Opo.
much for an interesting and a big framework presentation with depth. Okay. Three
Opo.
more related questions. One is not, well, the first one is not really a question, but suggestions. What you presented, can you put it in guidelines or outline form, which you can share with others, hindi lamang in Santa Rosa, but share throughout the country? Because I imagine what you're experiencing is will also be experienced or is or will be experienced by other areas of the country. So if you can share and spread it out, and I would even suggest develop a national assembly. No, not kidding. Not kidding. Second, yung second na unahan na ako ni Ike Senieres, but I'll frame it. My interest is agriculture. My heart is with agriculture. And let me be straightforward. In your presentation of the three case studies, saan yung magsasaka? Wala eh. Wala yung magsasaka eh.
Sa Santa Rosa po, nawala na ang magsasaka.
Yeah, but that's it. Now, I mentioned it. I was in the World Food Expo just last Thursday. It started last Thursday. Ang ganda ng expo, but there was an enclosure for DA-sponsored exhibitors. And nung bumili ako ng mushroom cropek, tinanong ko kung saan, sabi ng lady, sa Garcia, Cordillera Autonomous
Administrative Region.
To link up with you, so I got her data. But sabi niya, sir, nakakalungkot ho. Bakit? Wala na akong sa farming. And, you know, what you said. So, I'm raising not just a red flag, but storm alert, typhoon alert. We are neglecting our agriculture grievously and scandalously. Okay.
Totoo po yan. Totoo po yan.
So my first point is going back, if you can, simple guidelines, briefs, wag nobela, wag dissertation, and use to spread out to other parts of the country and then form national assemblies. Number two is the farmer. Number three, in the three cases, I'm wondering, of course, this might not have been discussed. Were there budgets presented and, you know, the cost benefit of the budgets? Okay. Number four, for which it will be my last point, perhaps in coming up with the guidelines and briefs, you can also come up with guidelines for citizen science.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'd like to reach out to the schools. You know, you've got SUCs in all provinces, you've got private schools, you've got religions, you've got parishes and dioceses. They can be gotten on board to help out. Maswerte ang Santa Rosa in your area because with a tremendous amount of water, you've got big industries there.
Yeah.
But in other parts of the country, nakakalungkot, you know. So I think that's my comment. So my 4 points are not really so much questions as comments. Maraming salamat.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, sir. Nakaka-inspire din po yung inyong unang-unang suggestion. Na Opo, so pag-isipan po natin yan and pagplanuhan, no, yung so developing yung guidelines or outline and
so
then
citizen can use those guidelines and get involved.
Opo.
Kasi para sa akin, I have three to four interest areas. One is malnutrition. Of course, malnutrition is heavy daw sa Muslim areas, Barm, that. But malnutrition. Number two is education.
Yes.
Well, number 3 is flooding and watershed, Magkadikit-chan. So those things. Okay. Thank you
Opo.
very much, Doktora. Thank you.
Opo, thank you po. Okay, so I think sa Future Earth, si Ma'am Luli nakikinig po. So marami po tayong mga ideas na ibinigay si Sir Cesar Gomez. Opo. Sa agriculture, totoo po yun. Nawala na po ang mga farmers sa Santa Rosa. Wala na po yung mga magsasaka ng palay kasi po wala na yung palay. Ganon din po nung kami, sabi ko sa inyo noong yung sa Silang, Cavite, yung mga farmers po doon, kasi mga tenants naman po yun, wala, binayaran na lang po sila. So wala na sila. Anong ginagawa nila? Pwede pong nagta-tricycle or iba na lang pong trabaho. Hindi na sa bukid kasi po wala na. Convert na po yun. Pero totoo po yan. Kung alin po yung mga productive agriculture areas natin, sila ang nako-convert. And food security po natin is a big question. So parang tragedy of the commons, yung una-una kong slide. Okay. So, yung cost benefit, hindi po kami naggawa ng cost benefit. Wala po kami economist noon sa research team. But that's good. Okay. So, citizen science, maganda pong aspeto rin yan. Okay. So, pwede rin po mga pag-isipin yan. So, for future projects po, siguro for Future Earth, Mark? Okay. So, citizen
Opo, ma'am.
science, and then ito, itong National Assembly. So, yan. Okay.
Actually, ma'am, may suggestion po si Ma'am G.
Oo.
Minessage niya po ako privately na pwede po kayong mag-share ng inyong experience sa current project po na ginagawa po ng FEP, which is yung Mount Pinatubo Resilience Escalator, na kung saan, ma'am, yung inyo pong study can definitely help us with the issue that we are currently experiencing po sa Pampanga flooding. So ayun din po. So nakikinig po si Ma'am Luli. So pwede din po namin yung sanang i-insert o isama po sa aming study.
Okay. Oo.
So ma'am,
At
ito
saka
po
pala,
tayo.
mabanggit ko lang din pala, member ako ng Philippine Watershed Management Coalition.
Opo,
It's a
ma'am, opo.
volunteer group, and we are organizing a national conference by November. So ako yung nag-organize noong So I'll share it with the team po, kung yung iba na interesado pwede ring makanood noon. So I'll share the PubMat sa iyo, Mark, later
Opo.
pag available na. Ginagawa pa lang namin, pero yan siguro, so maganda ring ma-invite din sila dun sa Okay.
So about 5:17 na po. So are we still open po sa mga last 2 questions? Okay po, eto tawid na lang po ako dito sa question po ni Mr. ni Sir Rapi. So, ma'am, pa-share na po na yung experience on how we can approach the mining issues using your methodology in Santa Rosa. I am now helping miners and farmers in mining operation in Paracale, Panganiban Town in Camarines Norte.
Oo. I think kung sa mining, ang merong project dyan sa Marinduque, si Ma'am G. At saka doon sa Ma'am G Cuevas sa so kung andyan pa si Ma'am G, baka gusto mo ikaw ang mag-share pati doon sa
To
Andyan pa ba
advice
si
na
Ma'am
po,
G?
si Ma'am G po
Umalis na
ay
siya.
kaka-opera lang po. Siya po ay nasa ospital pa ngayon.
Ay, nasa ospital pa si Ma'am G. Ma'am G, pagaling kayo ng husto. But,
Opo.
okay, so, in a nutshell, okay, so yung sa mga mining issues naman po, so, ang problema din dito, nakapunta rin ako doon sa may Subic, doon sa mga mining ng zinc and so on. So, ang problema dyan is kung open mining yun, tapos pag umuulan, that will be yung kung kasama ng mai-erode tsaka ng runoff. So, kung ano man yung mga naando doon sa mining areas, pwedeng mapunta doon sa downstream areas at tsaka sa riverine system. Alam ko doon sa Marinduque, tsaka pinag-aralan ni Ma'am G yung mga heavy metals na contamination doon sa rice fields, no? Kasi doon bumababa. And merong effect. Kaya po talaga, kailangan mag-ingat po tayo. Kailangan talagang mapangalagaan natin yung mga mining areas, yung mga environmental impacts po noon. Kailangan po talaga maraming iba-ibang mga approaches to minimize yung mga magiging negative impacts po noon. Kailangan makontain na lang yung mga heavy metals or iba pang mga huwag nang lumabas pa doon sa system na pwedeng madala ng tubig o tsaka mapunta doon sa erosion, okay? And even sa hangin, okay?
Opo.
Okay.
So ano lang po, ang dami pa pong mga katanungan dito but we are already out of time. This is the first time tayo po nag-extend at nag-overtime dahil po sa napakagandang topic po ni Ma'am Demi. So sa mga gusto po makahingi po ng slide po ni Ma'am, she will forward that sa akin po. So just kindly email me. Ito po ang aking email, futureearthph@nas.gov.ph. Or you can also send it to mcflores6@alum.up.edu.ph. So nakapost po siya sa ating pong chat box. Ang time po niya for everyone is 4:58 p.m. So doon po.
Mark, may nahingi ng aking email address. So alam mo naman, pero tinype ko rin dito, dmmacandog@gmail.com.
So
Okay.
yan po, in-email din po ni Ma'am yung kanyang where we can contact her.
Opo.
So yan po.
Okay.
So madaming salamat po sa pagsama po sa amin ngayong hapon. Isang napakagandang eye-opening po ng ating topic for today. So masasabi ko lang po ito napakasimple. Ang realization ko po sa topic po ni Ma'am Demi for today is tutuloy po ang buhay ng mundo, ng komunidad po natin kahit wala po tayo. As a matter of fact po, sa katunayan, yung pong ecosystem po natin is better off ng walang human beings. Mag-a-agree po dyan si Ma'am Demi.
Yes.
Tayo po ang dahilan sa mga problemang kinakaharap po ng ating lipunan, ng ating kalikasan. Kaso lang po, parte din po tayo ng ecosystem na ito eh. So, kaya po masasabi po namin ni Ma'am Demi na tayo din po ang source ng problema, kaya nasa kamay din po natin ang source ng solusyon.
Oo.
So, with those words,
Tamang-tama yung first slide ko, Tragedy of the Commons.
Tama po yan, ma'am. So, maraming salamat po sa pagsama po sa aming hapon ngayon. At sana po sa henerasyon po natin, maputol na po yung mga problemang ganito. Huwag na po nating hintayin na lalo pa po lumala ang mga kalamidad, problema na kinakaharap po natin sa araw-araw. So, let's all enjoy the rest of the day and you all have a great weekend. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you po. Bye-bye.